Hello and welcome to today's Trade Radiators video. My name's James and today we're going to have a quick look at how to change this horrible rusty old radiator we've got here for a nice new vertical towel rail in this kitchen. I'm also going to try and keep the cup holders on one of these sides because the great thing about vertical towel rails is because they're so versatile when it comes to wall space and they still give out loads and loads of heat. But before I do all of that, I've just got to clear up all the cat food, get everything off this wall and then we can move on. Right, so the next thing we've got to do is make sure that the system is drained down. So find the lowest point, lower than the radiator you're working on. Fortunately, we've got a drain off here, pop a hose on there and drain the whole system out. Sometimes you need to pop a towel under your drain off because they do tend to leak. Whilst everything is draining out, let's have a look at our lovely new radiator. Obviously check during delivery to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And if you need a hand, always make sure you've got a little bit of help lifting one of these because they are quite heavy. Right, as you can see, very nicely packed. There's no chance of any damage in transit really when you've packed it so as well as this. Be careful when you open up your new radiators to make sure that you don't lose any of the hangers or fittings that come with the rad, okay? And they're usually tucked down inside one of the grills. So, usually with your new radiator, you will have a small fixing kit, so there'll be plugs and screws provided. These radiators can be quite heavy, so I do recommend you use the fittings they provide. Also, they've got the bungs provided in there as well. So make sure you visually inspect the whole radiator. Take off each one of the protective caps and wind in your new bungs. Make sure you've got the air vent for the radiator on the side that's easy to access. Make sure that all the radiator brackets are present and that if there are any instructions, you follow them closely. Once you're happy that your new radiator is prepared and you've drained the heating system down, we can take our old radiator off the wall. Right, so now I've got my radiator off the wall, I'm going to offer up where I want to put this back up. So I'm just going to make a little mark just here and then I'll know exactly what I'm going on. Right, so the next thing we need to do is I want my radiator centre to be equidistant between this point here and the mark we've just made there. So I'm going to measure across and get my centre just about here. Once I've done that, I'm going to use a long spirit level to make some small dashes up and down the length of where our radiator is going to go. Now, once I've done that, I just want to measure the height, the lowest point of the radiator where I want that to be. So, I would like the radiator to be reasonably low, probably about here. So now we know exactly where the bottom of our radiator is going to be. Now, if you look closely at the brackets we've got here, and this is really common for vertical radiators, the bottom of the radiator is actually the bottom of the trough of this bracket. What we can do now is get our spirit level and just run out at a certain distance. We know the distance we're going to run out because what we're going to do is measure between the two fins where we want our radiator to go on. So at the moment that's 290mm. So we'll divide that in two and then we'll measure out from our centre point along the bottom line that we've just put. So looking slightly closely, as you can see, we've got our line here, our centre line there. Then we've got a horizontal line that we've used our spirit level to get here, and we've measured out 290 divided by 2, which is 145mm, and we've measured out to there, from there to there. So what we need to now know is where to put our top brackets. It's very easy to know how high to put them. We measure from the bottom of this rung here, all the way down to the bottom of this rung here. So that's 1755. Now we just measure from the bottom centre line here, all the way up the centre line we marked a minute ago with our little dashes. We go up 1755. Just double check we've got that right. So now we've got our little mark at the top just there. We just extend our centre line to just converge where that mark is. It's very similar to what we did at the bottom. We measure out 290 divided in 2, which is 145, out there and use a spirit level to make sure that it's plumb. So now all we need to do is affix our brackets so we know that the bottom of our troughs here are in line with the lines we've put there. It's very easy to do because the bottoms of the troughs here line up with the bottom of the slotted hole just on here. So if we look closely at the right hand side top clip of our radiator mark we've just done there, like we said, we know that the bottom of this hole here lines up with the bottom of that there. So we will get our centre just on here like so and then bring that down just so we can see it, and then we can draw our hole here and here. We can do that on all of the other clips now. Once you've got your holes marked, make sure you get the right size drill bit for your plugs and drill your holes. Once you've got your holes drilled, you can then tap in your plugs. Right, once you're happy you've got your plugs in, very easy, just get yourself your screws that have been supplied. And then screw on your brackets. Just make sure while you're doing this that everything's in line like this and like this, how it should be. Once you put your next bottom bracket on next to this, we'll pop a spirit level on there to make sure they both line up okay. Right, so now we've got our two first brackets in the bottom here. I've just popped the spirit level on here to make sure they're nice and level, and they are. And also what I'm going to do is just get the tape across here and make sure they're the right width for our radiator. Then I'll go up top, fix our brackets and just recheck our measurements as well. Right, so now we've got our brackets on. It's just a matter of getting this radiator hung on here. You're probably going to need some help to do this if you're doing this on your own. Fortunately, I'm hardcore, so I should be able to do it alright. Then you know, I've done a few of these in my time. There we go, nicely hung up. Next thing to do is the moment of truth and pop our spirit level on the side just to make sure that's level, and that is perfectly plumb. Absolutely no problem there. If you do find it's just a little bit out of level, usually a little tap with a hammer each way on one of your brackets will sort that out. Right, so the next thing to worry about is which way to bring the flow and return into your radiator. Vertical radiators like this one actually have one area where the flow should come in. On this radiator, it's on the right hand side. It's denoted by a small red sticker on the bottom of the radiator just there, but also you can stick your finger in and actually see that there's a little blocking plug inside the rad that will force that new flow up to the top first, where it will then trickle back down and make sure that the whole radiator evenly heats up. If you haven't done it that way round, you'll find that it will just be like a big N shape that will get heated up, and all the middle ventricles won't get warm at all. So now we've got everything hung up, I'm just going to give a quick clear up here, and then I'm going to pipe it up nice and quickly. So as soon as I'm finished, it should look something like this. I mean, look what a lovely, beautiful radiator this is. It's actually made a massive difference to this wall space you've got here at the moment. You know, we've managed to fit this in, that's stayed exactly where it was. This radiator gives out more heat by miles than the other horrible white rad that we took out earlier on that was rusting. This one here is just brilliant. I'm really, really pleased with how the install's gone. As you can see, the pipe work's lovely, and at the moment it is really, really cooking now. It's brilliant. So the room feels really, really nice. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's lovely to know that when it's cold, snowing and horrible outside, that inside it's lovely and warm.